Welcome to Laugh, Cry, or Die, a comedy disability podcast hosted by me, Steve Wilbury. And with me, as always, is my co host, Naomi Strain.
Hello.
We are here this morning, or this afternoon, or whenever it is you're listening to us, to talk about life lived on the other side of health. I am the proud owner of a wide variety of metals, screws, plates, and an acquired nervous system disorder, and Naomi is just fuck ugly.
It is a major disability in this current climate of life. And, it just keeps on getting worse.
She's not Instagram model hot. She's just fuck ugly. There's a punchline there somewhere. Don't know where it is.
Well, somebody who was trying to be flattering to me apparently told me that I wasn't classically beautiful, but I am quirky. I don't know how to take that. My quirky old face.
We went to get new glasses for me because mine are literally like falling apart. The frames are like busted.
Yeah.
And I was trying different ones on, and we realized that because there are so many notable features on my face, I can't have glasses that are too strong. They need to basically just be invisible bits of cling film on my face because there's so much else going on.
So many notable features.
Oh yeah.
Like what?
There's I mean, you've seen my profile. I have a nose that could plow rocks, and it's crooked, and it's on crooked.
If we're going to look at our faces and what's wrong with them, there is so much surgery that I could have. People go, oh, what would you get fixed? It's like, I've got some days my eyes are too far apart. Some days they're too close. My nose is wonky. You can see right up it when I talk. My teeth are bad. I've got these like hamster bits here, like I've been storing nuts in my face. I've got my crazy stretchy skin, which just gets worse with life. And like, you can't see all the marks around my eyes because for some reason, there's a filter on us. We actually look better
There's
than we do
always a
in life.
filter.
I know, right? You can't see, like, you
You're
see a little bit of my lines, but it's better. And I did look at the settings when I was trying to sort out some of the normal Zoom settings. I did see the thing for making you look prettier, and I did increase it slightly. And went, oh yeah, that's better.
Well, nobody tunes into this audio podcast to see faces. We are on YouTube as well, so you can follow us on YouTube if you want to see what the fuck we're talking about. But
Yeah.
so right, one of the notable features on my face is my grandfather had a very crooked, pointy nose, which was transplanted from his face onto my face. And I found out a while ago that my mom had the same nose. It was this off-center crooked beak. And when she was a teenager, her nose was so thin that she was having trouble breathing. So they actually went in and they did a little operation to fix her sinuses. At the same time, they gave her a nose job, so it wasn't crooked and pointy and horrible.
Wow.
And I have very, very vivid memories of my mom between like 8 and like 11, 12, being like, how's you breathing through your nose, Steve? Because if you can't breathe, we might be able to do as my nose got bigger and weirder. She's like, there are things that can be done. I wish she'd said to me at 12, like, that big fuck off honker, we can sort that out. But it was the 80s.
Well, I think you're beautiful. Now say it back to me. Now tell me you're beautiful.
I think you're beautiful, Naomi. On the inside.
I did actually.
I really think.
I had someone recently tell me that if I wanted, they would have sex with me because they like my personality.
Oh, that's very funny to me.
I felt very flattered. And, I'm so awkward. My reaction was, thanks.
So are you going to see them on Thursday, or like when are you booked in?
Yeah, they're now my boyfriend. But it's
you're gonna get nailed.
I didn't know how to respond to that. It's nice that somebody would do me that favor.
I'm presuming this was a male.
It was, yeah.
Because that's not how women exist or talk.
Not in your world anyway.
No, nobody
No.
likes me in my world. So now that we're done talking about how pretty we are, how's your week been, Nay? Any notable seizures, events?
Um,
Are you still? Did we talk about the moon boot last podcast? I get turned around where we
oh
are with
no,
our lives.
we didn't go into detail about that. I think we mentioned it in passing. No, that one, what happened was I came around on the kitchen floor with paramedics there, which is quite a usual experience. And they sat me up and did all their normal things. And they were like kind of moving me by my shoulder. And because my
Hmm.
awareness when I come out of it isn't instantaneous, it's like I'm there and then, oh, something's really hurting. And my ankle and my shoulder were very painful. And my instinctive thing is, no, I'm fine. Don't take me to hospital. And they were like, no, actually, you have done a bad thing here.
Hmm.
And so I went to hospital and they were lovely. Well, I went to the medical injury center and what they, like, I couldn't move it properly. And so I had to go for x-rays. And one of the ways they put dislocated shoulders, well, the way they put dislocated shoulders back in is they kind of raise it forward and up like that and it clunks in. Now, I couldn't move it. And then I went for the x-ray and they rested it on the table and slid me, like to get it in the right angle. And as they slid me, it popped and crunched and went into place, I think. So when they actually took the x-ray, they're like, oh, it's not dislocated. And it's like, no, I think it put it back in when you slid me. And because it was obviously still very painful, they put me in this awesome shoulder sling that actually straps around your waist as well to stop you swinging it forward. But I also couldn't stand on my ankle. I think I rolled it. So I was, yeah, back in a moon boot, shoulder sling. But because my body's very used to fixing quickly, I didn't have to use it for too long. But what was good about the whole situation was the interaction with medical professionals after a seizure can really impact how I feel the next couple of days. So if they're crap, I feel crap. Now the night when I did this, it was awesome. I had a really nice night. Like the guys that came home, we had a laugh and we had a chat about one of the paramedics' OnlyFans, which was a fun chat. I'm good. I laugh about that and got to the hospital and they were really friendly and took me through and we're having a laugh and a chat about stuff. And my friend came and picked me up and brought me home. And it was like, I had a really nice evening, despite being in pain. I had a lovely time.
Hmm.
And it's
It's
like,
funny, like when I've been in hospital for like stretches,
yeah.
there 100% are nurses that you're like, oh, sweet, blank is on tonight. I'm gonna have a laugh. Or you're like, oh no, I've got shit face today. Like just resting, go fuck yourself face. And yeah, the difference that literally that interaction can make on such a fundamental level is humongous. And I think especially for you, because your brain is so discombobulated, if the first thing it gets back to is like negative personal interaction, of course that's going to color the rest of your day. On your medic alert, it should also say, when I wake up, don't be a cunt. I
Yeah.
think that would be
Just
good.
be nice to me. Because yeah, there are times when like there are times when people are just pissed off and stressed, and it's a night shift or whatever. Sometimes people are damn ignorant and damn insensitive and sometimes nasty. I've had people be, all manner of ways to me. But recently I found out that during one public seizure, because I'll often put on one of the Facebook community groups, thank you to whichever public looked after me, to try and find out who it was so I can say thank you. But I found out
Hmm.
recently that the paramedics or EMTs or whatever that came to me on the public seizure told a member of the public that it wasn't epilepsy, it was mental health. Which
That's so illegal.
I know, right? It's like, well, share my medical information with whoever you like.
Like as a person who's gone through training in the like your rights as a consumer of health services in New Zealand, the right to have a health professional not tell your shit to a member of the public is like number one. Fuck that noise.
I know, because it does then affect how, people see me. And like mental health isn't a taboo thing, it's fine.
Hmm.
But, you know, for one, it's not mental health. But two, any information about me I don't want shared publicly. Like, imagine if you pick somebody up off the street and go, "Oh, it's all right, it's just chlamydia." You know, it's like not that I have chlamydia, and not that my seizures are because of any kind of STD.
Yeah, yeah, I love the idea that, decades of intense epilepsy are just caused by this stew of STDs. Just your crotch is just rotting, and that damage inflamed your nervous system. And the
Yeah, yeah.
doctors are like, we don't know why. And your crotch is literally on fire in the doctor's office.
I mean, I'm going to have to research now. Can STDs cause seizures? But
Also, maybe at research what STDs are. It sounds like you could use a brush up,
yeah, just a bit of a checkup.
bit of a check.
But it's that
Just chuck
equivalent
some tea tree down there. You'll be fine.
tea tree cures everything.
It
But
does.
no, it is that equivalent of, like, why would
Mm,
you share someone's information with somebody
mm,
else? But another occasion, one bad one was, I was in public. I was in a shop in town, and the shopkeepers, I went in to see them the next day to say thank you and to find out what the fuck went on. And they said that they found me, sort of on the ground having a seizure, and they closed the shop, and it was Rebel Sports. Thank you for being very professional. And they
mm.
closed the shop so that nobody would see me. And on that occasion, they had to cut my t-shirt off and have the pads on me from the defibrillator, because they didn't know if I was gonna, need that. And they were on the phone with 111, who made them start chest compressions on me, and they'd called the ambulance. And the fire service got there before, because they'll respond to things in emergency if the ambulance is going to be late. So they were there first, and then the paramedics turned up, and apparently the guy from the fire service said, "Oh, it's okay, it's pseudo seizures, it's not real seizures," which I hate the term pseudo seizures, because it's a term that's not used in the medical professional anymore, even though some people do use it. It's an outdated term. It means seizures of, like, unknown origin or psychological seizures.
Mm.
But by using the word pseudo, people immediately think fake, because that's what pseudo means. So bearing in mind, this
Well, and
guy,
also that he just dismissed it. He was like, "Oh, it's fine. She's the woman whose heart apparently isn't working correctly, is
well,
just
see,
having pseudo heart failure."
yeah, we'll see the things they were doing that to be, one saying it because they don't know. But the point that got me was the guy from the fire service isn't a medical professional. Yes, he'll have some kind of training, but he's not a medical professional, doesn't have access to my medical records, doesn't know anything about my situation, aside from the fact he is the brother, and I don't mind saying this publicly, he is the brother of a friend of mine who I don't particularly, I don't see anymore. But the brother of a friend of mine, and has only heard what my medical situation is from her viewpoint. And so not only is he not a medical professional, he's basing his medical opinion on gossip from somebody who has even less medical knowledge than him. And
That is
announces it,
wow.
I know, and announces it in public to shop people, who then are out in the public having this opinion of me. So when I went in the next day to say thank you, the lady who'd done CPR on me said, "Oh, we were really concerned until we heard that it was not a real seizure."
Wow.
And it's like, that really really pissed me off.
I should think so. So even in your pseudo seizures, you're still unconscious, yeah?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, this is the thing with pseudo seizures, and this is why they don't use that term anymore, is that insinuates fake. Now, pseudo seizure
Mm,
is, a genuine pseudo seizure is a psychological, kind of a really extreme panic attack. Say it's like to get away, it's a trauma kind of response in
mm,
most
hmm.
situations. There are seizures that are not psychological, but they're still, like, hard, I'd say, with the same brush. The word pseudo, the dictionary definition is fake, sham, and that kind of thing. So even though pseudo seizure isn't fake or a sham, the opinion of people who hear that term is fake or a sham.
I think anyone who's had a panic attack will argue very vehemently against the idea that it wasn't real. Um, and I think it's where or when I have my pain, like that's real pain that really exists, but that's inside. Even people with schizophrenia, they've done MRI scans for people who are having schizophrenic attacks, and the things that they see are activated in the visual cortex of your brain, just like it had come from your optic nerves. So
Right,
when you
right.
say so it's like, it's real. It's as real for them as it is for any of us else. But there's this, I don't want to get too psycho spiritual at 10 o'clock in the morning, but it is, there's this big, misconception about how solid and real the world is. We think it's this solid, real thing, but it's also really actually very transient.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's very much based on individuals' experience as well. And just
mm,
because you haven't experienced that thing doesn't invalidate it for somebody else.
I think that's why I've talked about how, like, when I do kids' birthday parties, rich people never give you a slice of cake.
Mm,
And to them, because they haven't experienced being hungry for a slice of cake and not having money to get fish and chips on the way home,
mm.
it's not real for them because it can't be. They've never been there. So there's just this imagination, which is why we are so amazingly compassionate and beautiful.
Yeah. And that's why, like we've talked about injury trumps, you can never compare your experience to somebody else because something
Mm,
may not have hurt one person, but it does hurt you. And you've got to take people at their word on what they say their experience is. Like a 12-year-old who's in love and their little relationship, that's belittling, but
mm,
a 12-year-old who is in love and then heartbroken when it doesn't work,
mm,
people go, "Oh, it's puppy love, isn't that cute, kids?" But to that kid, it's the most painful thing that they've ever had happen. It's very real to them.
mm.
It's like, don't belittle their experience, don't belittle their feelings
I
because
try
it's
that really
valid.
hard with the boy, is if he's like having a really big emotion or he's like complaining about something, it's just like what you said. I'm like, oh man, that really sucks. That must be really hard. And just like validating it that, like, because if he feels like that, I can't see inside of his brain.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And telling him or saying, "Oh, it's fine. It's just, it's a normal thing," doesn't stop him
hmm.
having that emotion. It just stops him telling you about it in the future.
Or being like, oh, that's a stupid way to feel. Like that drives me crazy when parents do stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
no, they have their own set of experiences. They're going to feel like they're going to feel. And the only thing I think, as if you're going to try and be a good parent, you just try and support them to figure that out themselves because they're the only.
With your chronic pain, do people try and dismiss that because they can't see, an injury or whatever? Do people dismiss you?
Um, there was a point when my mother-in-law thought I was a bit of a hypochondriac. Um, I don't know if my father-in-law accepts it as real. To my mother-in-law's credit, over the years she has seen me struggle and seen me go through pain camp and see me like organize my life and do the best I can, and has really come on my side, which has been really sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think I just don't put myself in situations where people are able to even bring it up as a thing.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So
I
people
don't know
only
if that
see
makes
what
any
you
sense.
they see. I guess that people see what you allow them to see because if you're in pain, you can stay away or you don't have to verbalize it to them. And I guess that's
Yeah,
where we differ is that people see mine regardless of whether I want them to or not.
yeah, I'm pretty good at, like, if I'm having a bad pain day, I just hole up
Hold up.
and do my maintenance and just get through. Hey, hey. By which I mean have sex with a prostitute. No, I
It's the
just
cure
don't.
for most ails. Maybe that person who offered me sex for my personality, maybe I should give it a go. Maybe
Just
that
have a go.
just,
That's why they have social sex workers in Denmark, not Denmark, in Holland.
yeah,
Everyone deserves to get laid. It's an
yeah.
important biological thing. Um, Sorry, where were we? I'd wandered up. Oh no, I had a point of something talking about like experiences and stuff and like what you feel being real. it extends to being able to manipulate it. I was listening to a really good podcast with Jimmy Carr on not Jimmy Carr. Who's the really offensive comedian? Is it Jimmy Carr? Yeah, Jimmy Carr.
Frankie Boyle, he's another offensive one.
No, it's Jimmy Carr, the English one who looks like a haunted puppet.
Yeah, Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr, right. Okay. So Jimmy Carr was on a podcast with Pete Holmes. And Jimmy Carr was really into neurolinguistic programming. And it's the idea of like manipulating how you remember things and stuff. And he's like, if you've got really bad memory, make it black and white. Nobody can tell you how to remember things. Or if there's someone who's been really shitty to you, remember them as being physically smaller than you.
Right.
And just like the ability to recode how you remember things, which will then affect how you move forward.
That's a great trick. I like that a lot
And
because it's really easy to dwell on, you know, things people have said or experiences, and you remember the bad things.
yeah, so you just make that bad thing little, like literally view them as if you're 10 feet tall and they're down at your feet and they're still talking shit. You can't stop them talking shit, but they're 2 feet tall. What the fuck do they know?
I really like
I
that.
mean, my short kings, but still.
Yeah.
Or similarly with the black and white, if it's like a really vivid memory that keeps coming in, you just make it black and white, give it distance from what you're doing.
Yeah.
And but we're talking about how like, your interactions after a seizure. I think that really translates as well. And something that is a universal hospital experience is fucking hospital food, man.
Food.
When I was talking to Lewis about like, does he still remember being sick and being in hospital? Is it something that comes up for him? Does he ever like dwell on it? Just kind of like gently probing around the edges to see where he was after this big discussion with Rachel about everything. And he's like, no, I don't really think about it much. But the one thing I do remember is the frickin' food, man. That stuff was gross. And there are so many studies about like how important food is to health. Like if you're trying to rebuild your body from a surgery and you're getting fed literally slop, like how is your body supposed to do that?
Yeah. If you're not getting the nutritional value, but also the niceness for that psychological sort of boost. And I know that medical profession is under a lot of, pressure. And so the most important thing is keeping people alive and hopefully in as little pain as possible. But that sort of the personal aspect of it is hugely important. Like when I spent my long time in hospital when my neurologist overdosed me and admitted it verbally but wouldn't admit it in writing because obviously then things would go that's its whole other subject. But I was in hospital for a long time and there was a lot of judgment because not much was known about what was going on with my seizures. And I cried a lot, and for a tough old bitch like me, that's saying something, but I cried a lot. And sometimes the people were, oh God, she's sad. And then one night, there's a nurse or orderly who'd have to watch me, all the time to make sure I wasn't having a seizure. And I had my back to the door and I was crying. And she came in and sat on the end of the bed. And I said, don't worry, I'm fine. And she went, well, you're not. And put her hand on my, sort of on my shin, down, near my foot. She just rested a hand on me and carried on reading her book. And that was it. And it was like, I can relax. I'm not alone in the world. Somebody is not only looking after my physical self, but as a human, want me to be okay. And that makes such a difference.
It was when I did my big psilocybin trip and Anna was trip sitting for me.
Yeah.
I was going through really like intense stuff, like remembering when I was trying to convince myself that I was safe, and it was this time I'd cut my hand, and it was like, it was very, very intense. And Anna just came over and she just held my hand, and just that human contact. And I think about it a lot when I see Lewis running around, like how much we are monkeys. And just if you just like, a chimp putting a hand on another chimp, like you're part of the pack,
Yeah.
is especially for us because we're so divorced from the shared experience of everyone else.
It's strange how we instinctively, as as humans and chimps, that we do immediately want to touch each other for support. You know, like if you see
Mm,
somebody, whether it's, you know, somebody you know well or a stranger, and they're crying, you instinctively want to gather them and protect them.
mm.
You know, even like resting a hand on a shoulder. Like if somebody says, "Oh, a member of my family's died," even if you didn't know that person, you want to go like, "Hey, you're all right." You know, or if you see
Yeah,
a friend
just
crying, you
like a
want to,
rub on the arm, on the upper arm kind of a
yeah,
thing. Like
yeah,
a, hey, it's okay, buddy.
yeah. It's those little moments of contact, and I think we do that, you know, in positive situations as well. You know, it's just
Well, you shake hands with someone, isn't it? That's how
yeah,
you meet
yeah.
them.
And when you see a friend and you hug them, and it's just like that contact is really
Mm.
important. And it's like it's an instinctive thing. It's not like, oh, we should be hugging them, unless you're a
Well, they did
psychopath and
that.
it's a social convention.
They did that study, the wire monkey study. So they took some baby monkeys and they made wire um, models of monkeys that had milk, that had food, and they made one that was soft but had no food, and they went for the soft one every fucking time because little baby monkeys just need soft cuddles.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's not like a survival thing for the food. It's
Mm.
actually just we
It's
all
like
want
it's a
cuddle.
survival thing for the consciousness or
Mm.
mind or whatever you want to go inside a baby monkey.
And and it's a bit like when have you ever been like you're upset and somebody's like, "Oh, you all right?" And you're like, "Yep, yep, I'm fine." And then they give you a hug and then you burst into tears. And it's like
Mm.
we like often it'll be like, "Don't hug me, you'll make me cry." And I had that when my dad died, and I was upset and I got tearful, but I didn't cry for the first, you know, 2 or 3 days. And it's like I was, why am I not crying? And it's because I'm so repressed and like, don't cry. And then I had a seizure and paramedic came to me, Curtis. He like I hold him in such high regard, um, you know, anyway, but this particular incident saw in my diary that I'd noted, you know, that it was that dad had died a couple of days before, and he gave me a hug. And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna cry if you do that." And he was like, "Well, yeah, I'm not gonna let go until you do," kind of thing, and just hugged me. And I
Mm.
sobbed, absolutely sobbed like a baby into his uniform. And then I'd like get my shit together, and he still carried on giving me a hug. And I cried so much. And it was that contact with the person. So I hadn't at that point had a hug or anything, you know. It's like, yeah, I it was maybe 3 days. That was actually the first hug that I'd had since hearing that my dad had died. Like, and
Yeesh.
so I think that's emotional. I think yeah, hang on. Yeah, I think that you
Touch
can,
is important.
yeah, you can kind of shut yourself off to letting yourself have those emotions, but when you're with someone who is keeping you safe and giving you that opportunity to feel the feelings, that it's okay.
Mm.
And it's a bit like
It's
you're
that
saying,
holding space, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And it's like the same with the psilocybin trip. You've got somebody there whose whole job is to let you let go and keep you safe whilst you do it. You know, it's
Mm.
like it's almost a fear that if you, you know, let yourself give in to the crying, you're not going to be able to stop. It's scary, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Whereas when Curtis was there and gave me a hug, it was like I'm in a safe environment now. I can I can let go. And it was instinctive. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't conscious of thinking that, but in analyzing it afterwards, it's like here's somebody who understands that this isn't an ideal situation. This is a sad situation. And they gave me the space to be sad.
Which is, I think, actually a probably good point to start bringing us to a close today. As our two themes are eat a sandwich and get a hug.
And
Those are like,
don't share people's medical information with strangers.
yes, those are our takeaways from today's show. If you learned nothing else, learn not to spout off about other people's medical bullshit,
Yeah.
and you should have good food when you're sick, and maybe get a hug. It's good for you.
Yeah, go and hug somebody.
There's like a 20-second hug, like the number of neurochemical changes that happen in your body after like a prolonged hug as opposed to just a brief one.
So
is is huge.
if the other person tries to stop the hug, don't let them. So, so your advice for today is go out and give non-consensual hugs.
For really like uncomfortably long times.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Laugh Cryer's Eye. We are no way responsible for liable for whatever the fuck you creeps get up to.
What you do is on your hands.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you guys next time.